Right now, we are seeing a property tax revolt take place across America, and that is because the property taxes have gotten obscenely high, while people who pay these taxes are receiving little to nothing in terms of extra benefits for that extra money. And not only are people not receiving much for their property taxes, they are also being priced out of their own homes due to these egregious increases in property taxes. In fact, more than 72% of metropolitan areas with at least 200,000 residents saw above average increases in property tax bills in 2024, according to some recent data from Adam. Nationally, the average property tax bill on a single-family home increased by 2.7% in 2024, but in 157 of the 217 metro areas tracked, those bills jumped by even more than that. And the thing is, the year before, people saw even larger increases in property taxes. So this is becoming a major problem. And last year, in 2024, homeowners paid on average about $4,172 in property taxes. And New Jersey actually paid the most with an average bill of $10,135. Guys, I've heard from several of you who live in New Jersey and watch my channel. And even though you guys don't have the highest property tax rates, somehow you guys pay more than everybody else. And in contrast, West Virginia had the lowest property tax bill on average at only a little over $1,000 per year. I guess that's the place to be, West Virginia, guys. Property taxes have been increasing, obviously due to inflation, but also the increase in cost to operate local schools and governments and how these tax burdens are distributed. Well, like I've showed you guys and talked about many times before on the channel, a lot of these increases can just be chalked up to fraud, okay? These school districts constantly cry and complain they don't have enough money. Every year they need more and more and more. And about half of your property tax bill is going towards just that. So we don't need to get into that debate again, but the fact of the matter is, if you want to know where the money's going, just look at the schools and look at what they're spending it on, and you will be in shock and horror of how much money they are taking and how much of that could actually be saved. It turns out there's more and more people across the country, probably thanks to videos like this and other YouTube channels that talk about this, that are bringing this issue to light, and more people are starting to get educated on the issue and looking at their bill and seeing the increases and like, wait, why are we paying this much again? And people are starting to question it and take a stance against it. In fact, as of right now, it looks like this is going to be the largest property tax revolt nationwide that we've seen since the 1970s, back when California ended up passing Proposition 13. Now, different states are trying to do different things, and Florida is one of them when it comes to potentially eliminating property taxes, but none of them have successfully done it. But on a federal level, in Washington, D.C., they're looking at things like this. Like right now, for example, taxpayers can deduct up to $10,000 in state and local property taxes if you itemize your deductions. Well, lawmakers capped that deduction, which was previously unlimited, as part of the 2017 Trump tax cuts. And those are going to expire at the end of this year. And one thing that the federal government might be looking at doing is repealing that cap on being able to write off those property taxes. And obviously, I'm in favor of this, guys, especially as a homeowner. But I do want to acknowledge that something that people have pointed out before, which is this. You know, essentially, the federal government is still subsidizing homeowners in that sense because, well, you're already paying the property taxes, so you get to eliminate some of your income taxes with that write-off. But what about renters? Renters don't get that same luxury. You know, you could be paying the same amount per month in rent and not be able to get a deduction on any of that money. If they do this, if they repeal it, then the law essentially will be written in favor of homeowners versus renters. But the thing is, the higher these property tax bills go, then the more it cuts in to all the rest of the money that people have to spend on their home and their life in general. Every single expense related to being a homeowner has been rising. Property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, you name it. Rising property taxes were cited the most concerning among homeowners. 43% of homeowners in a LendingTree survey said that this is their biggest concern right now. And about 70% of homeowners say that their property taxes are currently too high. And according to Ownwell, which is a company that I partner with here on the channel, which I always have their link in the description down below, guys. Feel free to use that, sign up, and get your property taxes reduced on your behalf. But they came out with a survey this week that said that 82% of people said that they did budget for their property taxes this year, but 66% said their bill was higher than they expected. And in Texas in particular, people are protesting their property taxes basically in record numbers right now. In Travis County, where Austin, Texas is, about 42% of properties contested their property taxes last year, which is up from less than 30% in 2022. So you can see more and more people are catching on, and especially a state like Texas where property taxes are extremely high. Illinois, my original home state, actually has the country's highest effective tax rate at 1.87%, and a higher than average tax bill at over $6,000 per year on average. And I'm gonna be going up there again for about a week. I'll show you guys some houses there and just show you the example of how much people are paying. It's crazy. Like, you can see a house there that's worth like $250,000, $300,000 that's paying the same property tax bill as a house here in Florida that's worth double that. And yeah, Florida is a more expensive state to live in, but you're paying all those property taxes in a state like Illinois that also has the state income tax too. And it's like, where does it end? Where do these states stop with the taxes? You know, it just continues to stack up till you're just taxed to death. You can also look at a state like Colorado, for example, that has a very low effective tax rate at 0.51%. But the average Colorado homeowner last year saw their property tax bill rise by 12% in just 1 year. And don't forget, that's along with all the other expenses that increased substantially over the same time frame. And of course, it's not just property taxes, guys. Here in Florida, insurance is a huge problem as well. And I saw this story today that tracks how much of a percentage of people's mortgage payment in Miami is due to just homeowners insurance. And the number is quite shocking. Take a look at this. On a national basis, insurance makes up about 9.7% of the average mortgage payment. But in South Florida, not just Miami, the whole South Florida metro area, we're talking West Palm Beach down to South Miami, okay? Insurance is 19% of somebody's mortgage payment here. Imagine that. 1/5 of your monthly payment is going towards just paying for insurance that you'll likely never be able to use, because if you do, you're either gonna lose it or it's gonna go up so high that you won't be able to afford it anymore. But believe it or not, Miami is not even the worst place when it comes to that. In New Orleans, they're the highest in the nation, where 26% of your mortgage payment now goes to just insurance alone. And in Oklahoma City, it's 18.8%. And the average monthly insurance payment went from $306 a month to $519 a month here in Miami. And right now, Florida homeowners have the highest average annual homeowners insurance bill at about $14,000 a year. And that's why about 20% of people here in Florida are deciding to go bare with no insurance at all. And remember, that's just the average, right? 14,000 is the average because there are numbers that are so high that make the average extremely high. That's not the median. The median is somewhere around 4,500. That's my boy back there, you know? This guy's always got my back. My bodyguards with the leaf blower right behind me. Now, for my Florida people, check this out. On Friday this past week, the Florida House passed a $5 billion tax relief package. And this is great news because it means lower taxes. Doesn't mean we're eliminating property taxes yet. And actually, Ron DeSantis, our governor, was against this because he's more in favor of going the route of eliminating property taxes. And to me, this kind of begs the question if we're actually going to see that still kind of happen. We're going to see property taxes still get lowered, or if this is supposed to be a replacement for that. I don't know. But here's what happened. This new bill lowers the state's tax rate by 0.75% to 5.25%. Previously, it was 6%. And this bill would reduce all other sales taxes by the same amount. Commercial rent tax is going to go from 2% down to 1.25%. Electricity is going from 4.35% to 3.6%. New mobile home purchases goes from 3% down to 2.25%. So across the board, you should see your sales tax that you pay on everything in Florida go down by 0.75%, which isn't huge, but it is a savings on everything that you buy. Now, personally, I would rather see the opposite happen, where they eliminate property taxes and increase sales taxes. And I think I mentioned this in a previous video. And the reason for that is because then everybody literally does pay their fair share, right? If you are only doing sales taxes and no property taxes, then everything you buy is going to be taxed at a higher rate, which means if you make a lot of money and you're a big consumer, you buy a lot of stuff, well, guess what? You are going to pay more in tax than somebody who doesn't make a lot of money and who doesn't consume as much as you. But not only do I think it's more fair, but I think the best reason to do it this way is because it eliminates the possibility and the risk of people losing their homes due to property taxes, guys, because this is the number one concern that homeowners have right now. I just went over this earlier in this video. Homeowners are genuinely worried that property taxes are going to get so high that they won't be able to afford their home, and this is already happening to some people. But apparently there is some sort of aim at relieving property taxes here with this bill, because it says here that this bill directs the funds to be used to offset county property taxes beginning in 2026. But I think people are still going to want more. People are going to want to lower property taxes in conjunction with this lower sales tax. It's not the perfect way to go about it, but lower taxes is lower taxes, so you can't really complain in that sense, where most places are raising taxes. But it's not all roses with this tax relief bill, because it's also going to pull tourism development tax dollars away from fiscally constrained counties across the state that get a lot of their income from hotel bed taxes and make their money off of that, basically tourism. And it's going to redirect that money in a way that they're not going to be able to use it the way that we're using it now. But the reason why DeSantis opposes this bill is because he wants to do his own $5 billion tax relief bill, which would basically give homeowners a $1,000 property tax rebate and start with that and aim to completely eliminate property taxes in 2026. Now, I like that idea too. However, like I said at the beginning of this video, when it comes to like favoring renters versus homeowners, then the only people who are going to benefit from this are current homeowners, guys. And if you think that your landlord is going to lower your rent because they just got a break on property taxes, keep dreaming. It's not going to happen. They are going to pocket the difference. Just like what we talked about during the debate with the commission settlement thing that happened with the National Association of Realtors. If home sellers don't have to pay all of the commission anymore, they're going from paying 6% down to 3% or 2%. Do you think they're going to be charging less for their home? Absolutely not. So it's the same sort of argument. And yeah, it's not really fair. That's why I think eliminating property taxes altogether, sure, that does favor homeowners, but it would also make it cheaper for a renter to become a homeowner if we eliminated property taxes, because that's one of the largest expenses involved with being a homeowner. So by default, it would benefit renters as well who are looking to become homeowners but can't currently afford to. I also want to point out a little bit of fake news in the real estate industry right now, because I saw this story about the housing market saying that existing home sales are lagging and not happening due to a lack of inventory still. And I just showed you guys in 2 videos last week that that is not true. So I am not going to go through this again in this video. I will just put up on the screen those videos I'm referencing and you can go check it out. Because what this report says is that the existing home market continues to face a short supply of homes for sale despite a 20% uptick in inventory year over year. And yes, I understand that still means we're at a 4-month supply of inventory, which is still technically considered a seller's market. But when you look at the rate of how these homes are literally not selling right now, it's like 4 months is the new 6 months when it comes to inventory, guys, because of how slow things are moving. Just like 50 is the new 30, yeah, well, 4 is the new 6. Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist over at the National Association of Realtors, I rarely agree with anything this guy ever says, but he actually said something intelligent in this report that I agree with, which was this. He says that as time passes, life events such as job changes, family transitions, or financial needs could prompt more homeowners to sell, even if it means giving up their low locked-in mortgage rates. And one of those other reasons for people to sell right now is something we already talked about in this video, which is an increase in property taxes and insurance. A lot of people cannot float those expenses anymore and are forced to let go of the property whether they want to or not. If you can't afford the increases, what else are you going to do? I mean, just take a look around. Right now, this is typically the busiest season of the year when it comes to home sales, and it's crickets out there. The reality is people are worried about the future of the US economy. They're worried about their investment portfolios that are losing value, and it's affecting people's decisions to buy. On top of that, you're seeing a lot of price growth stall or go down. Who wants to pick up the falling knife? People want a deal. That's why about 25% of listings on Zillow have a price cut right now, because sellers can't offload these properties because they are too expensive, guys. People do not want to take the risk, even if they can't afford it. And if they can't afford it, they don't want to take a risk, which means paying less for the property. And speaking of paying less for the property, one of my viewers wrote me this email talking about some of the steps he had to take to get his property sold in this market, okay? And I want to read this quick story for you guys so you can understand what home sellers need to do right now if they want to have a chance at selling, at least in places where inventory is on the rise. He had a townhouse in St. Lucie County, Florida, and he listed it for sale back in March of this year at $315,000. And just 2 days later, they dropped the price $2,500, still no showings. And after 2 weeks, he pushed to lower the price again, and they lowered it to $299,800. And they intentionally priced it just below a comparable new listing that had gone up for $299,900, so $100 less than that comparable listing. Then 2 more weeks went by with 0 showings. That just goes to show you how slow things are here in Florida. So what did he do? He looked at the most recent sales data, and he found that the most comparable unit in his complex sold for $297,000 on March 31st. And that was his tipping point. And he said, you know what? It's time to get real. I need to sell this property. So he dropped the price to $286,500 and offered $1,500 in buyer concessions. And look at this. Within hours of that price cut, he received offers, and he actually received an offer of $293,000 with $8,500 in concessions, which to me was kind of stupid on the part of the buyer, because now they're going to have to pay property taxes based on that $293,000. They should have taken the lower sales price, but that just goes to show you how ignorant people are. And they don't know how to structure their offers properly, because their real estate agent is trying to push them to just pay more for the property, because guess what? That means more commission for them. It's better for them to have a higher sales price and you get the concessions than the other way around. But for you as the buyer, it's better to get the lower sales price because now you're going to have lower taxes. Anyways, he accepted the offer. They are set to close by the end of May. And he wanted to point out that the reason why nothing is selling right now is because home sellers are being too greedy, and he just found this out with his own experience. And it's not like he's losing money. This wasn't a flip or anything. You can see by the sales history here that he bought this place back in 2010 for $96,000 cash. And the proceeds from selling this place are going to be enough to pay in full for his new construction home. No mortgage, no stress. So what do you think the moral of this story is, guys? It's get with the program. Stop being greedy. Be realistic. If you want to sell your place, you need to sell it for the price that somebody's willing to pay for. And because he acted swiftly and actually lowered the price pretty quickly to something that the buyer would be willing to pay, the home wasn't sitting on the market for 6 months to a year like a bunch of these places we walk by here. Well, guess what? Because he was less greedy up front, he's getting more money now that he's ultimately going to be able to use to pay off his new home in cash and live mortgage free. Versus if he would have not done that, then he would still be trying to sell this property, continue down the death spiral of lowering the price and lowering the price, eventually getting less than what he sold it for right now, and probably have 2 mortgage payments for a while until he was able to sell the property and eventually pay off the mortgage on his new construction home. So you see, these financial decisions can make a huge impact on how somebody's life turns out, and I feel proud to be a part of this, you know. He watches my channel, he's heard me say a lot of these things, and he decided to take the smart way out, and guess what? It's paid off in dividends for him, guys. Being a little bit less greedy up front pays dividends later down the road. It frees up the money right now to do things that you really need to do with it, just like he's doing. So I hope more people can take a page out of his book and get their property sold right now for a more fair price. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.